am very excited. I am patching in the winner of Survivor Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, Ben Driebergen. Ben, how you going?
Hey, Ryan. How you doing?
Ben, I'm absolutely brilliant. Very excited to be able to chat to you about your game, if not only briefly. But before we start, I have to ask you, probably something you've been asked 1,000 times today, what does church this up mean?
to church it up. I mean, it's a saying I've used for a while to kind of make something more exciting, or taking a bad situation and making it good, kind of like putting a ribbon around a piece of poo or something. Church it up.
Well, I think we should church this podcast right up then and make it as fun as we can. We'll drop a few Ben bombs as well. I know coming into this, my podcast partner, Adam Ritter, who you might have met at the finale, he's absolutely a huge Ben fan, so I've heard about your game in depth throughout the season, but it's great to hear it from you. What were your expectations coming into the finale? Were you confident that you were going to be the winner of Survivor this season?
No, I was 100% not confident. There was Final Tribal was a battle. I mean, it went.
Wow.
I've heard it was probably one of the longest tribals that they've ever had there on set. And Ryan and Chrissy, and I mean, it was relentless. And so I was never confident or comfortable with the way the votes were cast up until the finale, and even at the finale when it went 1-1-1, and Chrissy got 2 back to back. I thought I had lost because her she has a good story, and she won 4 immunities, and so it was never comfortable at all.
Was there anyone whose vote you did get that you were surprised to get?
I mean, in all reality, I would go down and say Lauren first is the first one that comes to mind, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, she was my ride or die, and my best friend, and I in a game, I don't know if I could have beat her with all those advantages, and then she's a mother, and she was just too big of a target, and so I had to set aside our personal friendship and take her out. But I'm glad I got her vote. Desi, who we didn't spend a lot of time together, and just saw and heard stuff from the jury. That one, I mean, all of them. The first 5, I believe, I got their votes, and the last 3 I didn't. And I think that's because of those. They were so determined to try to get me out, and I think it was just too soon or something. I don't know, but yeah, it was. All of them were surprising. It was 100% a surprise.
Ben, can I just ask you a little bit about the moment where you create this 4-person alliance, or you're brought in by Lauren to this 4-person alliance, and then we see during the next episode that there's this breakdown, and we see you looking at the 3 at the well, talking about voting you out.
Yeah.
How shocked were you at that point that, oh my gosh, it looked like you were in a comfortable position to make potentially top 4 to now being completely on the outs?
Not very. It didn't surprise me that much because Joe and Dr. Mike basically were going around the island every day and reminding people how big of a threat I was, and that if I made it to the end, they would vote for me, kind of deal, and using that as a tactic. And so once Joe was gone, once the bigger threat was gone, I figured it would be smart of them to do that. And there's a secret scene when I walked up on Mike, Ash, Dev, and Lauren on the beach, and they all kind of just fell out of their conversation the same way at the well. And that's when I knew for sure that something fishy was going on.
Even before that, Ben, I think your game is so interesting as someone who's observing, because you had 2 facets. You almost had this King Arthur stage where, you had this secret spy and you were leading a big dominant alliance, and then you almost become this huge target because of how well you were playing that people wanted to get you out. Can you talk about the secret spy stage and what that was like to play both sides?
Yeah, the secret spy stage actually was really... almost kind of I don't want to say dark stage for me, but it was one of the lower moments for me because I had to constantly play like I was, on the outs with Ryan and Chrissy, right? And when you're doing that for that long, I believe it was probably 3 or 4 days that 3 days that I did that. you kind of start to fall into character, and like I mean, I got kind of depressed, and then you get kind of paranoid of like, well, what if like the turntables here? But I used the fact that I was going to flush Ryan's idol and let them know where he was going to play it when I was telling him that I was trying to get him to give it to me or play it for me to block a vote. And so that I think protected me from them turning that early. But yeah, it was fun to do it, but at the same point, like, it kind of sucked because I had to play depressed,
Yeah. Ben, can you tell me about idols and how we find an idol? Because you seem to be an idol whisperer out there.
Yeah, I look for idols every single day out there. I remember day one hitting the beach and spastically, not very, quietly going off and looking for idols. And I think it was Alan and I got back to camp, and Chrissy was like, "Are you looking for idols?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm looking for an idol. It's day one. Like, I'm not looking any harder than harder than everyone else out here." And Chrissy was like, I don't think we should do that this early." I'm like, "What? No. There's idols out here. There's an idol on this island. Why would you not try to find it?" And so I look every day. Yeah, and once you find one, once you figure out what the mechanism is, and you calm down and you're able to look for it. The idols are in a very, like, a high traffic spot. So anybody can find them. You just got to go look for them. And when the calmer you are about looking for them, I think it's the easier to find. But it's hard because you don't want to be caught looking for idols, right? So that whole panic and scurrying comes into play. But once you calm down, they're a lot easier to find.
That last idol you found, Ben, I was super impressed. The way that you even went to the well, you were putting water on the side of the well, like we've seen that in previous seasons. I think it was so fantastic to see how hard you were playing. You did not sleep to find it. I have to move on a little bit. I have to ask you about the Final Four. The challenge itself, you had the wrong way around. What were the emotions post that challenge? Did you feel like, my gosh, I've lost this game in that moment?
Wrecked, 100%. I lost. My game was done with an upside down U, and not only that, but multiple chances to lock that in, and that was so hard. That final, immunity and reward challenge was so hard to get it locked in, and it was heartbreaking. I was happy knowing that I played the way I played and fought as hard as I did, but it was heartbreaking knowing that I was so close, and one upside down U, and a mistake by me and no one else, solely on me, cost me $1 million potentially with the final three. So it was a tough bill.
The flip side of that is that at the tribal council, we find out that there is a twist and that you are going to be going to fire. What kind of emotions were going through you when you found out this twist?
I'm ecstatic. I mean, 100% ecstatic. Like, the adrenaline started rushing again, and the feeling of knowing you're going home to having one last fighting chance. Basically a 50-50 chance of it's a head-to-head battle to win. And in all reality, Devin had known about the fire making challenge ahead of time, so he went out and practiced. And in a way, you could say I was at a disadvantage because I had no clue what was happening. So,
Ben, I don't have you for much longer, so I'm going to put my last two questions into one. I have to ask you, what does this mean to your family winning this game? And also, we saw throughout the game, you talked very openly about battling PTSD, and we saw your buddies up on stage, and you've almost become like this hero for people, someone who is an example of battling through and sticking to it. So what does the whole experience mean to you and to your family?
We are so grateful and thankful for the way CBS has handled this situation and portrayed it on TV. If there's a way that we can, motivate veterans and encourage veterans to go out and seek help and talk to people and not get trapped in the darkness of alcohol and depression and suicide, then it's all worth it. we are a very humble family. We don't have, a lot of money, and we're fans of Survivor, just like majority of the fans out there. And I think it's a win for us, but also a win for the community of veterans and the community for Survivor fans. Whether you're happy with it or not, I feel like that was a pretty darn good season.
Yeah, Ben, I agree. I am also quite high on this season. I really loved post-merge, especially. Just personally, I think it's great that you won this season. You're right about mental health. I have a family history with mental health and struggles there, so I'm very, very pleased for you. I'm very pleased for your family, and make the most of it, and congratulations again.
Ryan, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and it's been fun doing this, and these interviews are awesome, bud.
Thanks, mate. Church it up. See you later.
Hey, cheers, Ryan.
The tribe has spoken. Time for the cut.